And welcome back. A little bit of a setback, and it was a setback due to my own fault. No faults but my own, but you'll see there, basically, I believe what's called the mid pipe of the exhaust that I took out, and I did have to wail on it a little bit. You can tell from where this is the hanger that's welded onto the exhaust pipe. I did kind of nick it a little bit. Now, I didn't go through it. I didn't go through the pipe itself and damage it, but I nicked it a little bit with a hammer. What I was beating apart was this joint that you see here. And this is the joint that goes from this mid pipe to the Y pipe that comes off of the exhaust manifold. Now you may be asking yourself, why is it am I now removing exhaust components from this vehicle when it wasn't my plan originally at all to do so? Well, that's because earlier today, when I was test fitting a certain package of bolts, and I'll see if I can find those. There they are. If you remember, these were the bolts that were listed as belonging to bolting on the heat shield. And then we found out that that wasn't the case, not at least for this vehicle. But we did find out, or I did find out today, that this is the nut that is needed to bolt the EGR coolant tube that you see here to the driver's side header. Well, earlier today, I was test fitting that bolt, and it threaded on fine. I figured, all right, you know, that tells me that's the bolt that I need. And as fate would have it, I dropped the bolt, and as you could probably guess, what is right below the bolt hole, the studs for the EGR cooler? And if you said that would be the collector for the lower exhaust, you are correct. So I heard the bolt fall. I heard a metallic ting a couple of times. I thought that it hit the frame rail and ended up on the floor. Well, unfortunately, it did not. It actually made its way into the driver's side exhaust and tinked and rattled and fell all the way down to the crossover piece that you see that goes from the, let me get you some light, the crossover piece that goes from the driver's side exhaust, where it then comes over here, and you've got a catalytic converter there, and then it combines together into that collector. And that collector that you see at the end there is the piece that I was sledgehammering, or I should say not sledgehammering, but hitting with a hammer on that one mounting bracket on that mid pipe to get it to separate from here. Because the issue I ran into was that bolt. Now I did use the bore scope and verify that bolt ended up right about here by the time it bounced down the driver's side exhaust, right about here where this elbow is at. That bolt is non-ferrous. I tested it with a magnet using one of the other ones in the package. At first I thought I could just use a rare earth magnet to kind of pick it up and drag it up to the exhaust, or I could get at it with using a reach tool, but again, the bolt's non-magnetic, so I didn't have a reach tool that could go all the way from where the collector's at, where it bolts to the driver's side exhaust manifold, go all the way down and make the series of bends that you see there that would then go over to this crossover piece. So unfortunately, what I had to do was finish disconnecting the rest of the exhaust. I'm sorry, not the exhaust, but the oxygen sensors that you see there. And I want to say that there was 3 on this side and 1 on the driver's side. And then systematically go through and start removing sections of the exhaust. Because as you can imagine, now granted this truck is a 2016, it's not too old, but it's had enough heat cycles and been driven enough around in the rain and such that getting the exhaust pieces to separate from each other was a pain in the rear. So what the book wants you to do, which I'm getting ready here to try, is that once this collector that you see here for this Y pipe is disconnected, you're supposed to be able to just drop it and then slide it out over the top of this transmission cross member, because I really don't want to have to jack the transmission up and take this cross member to get the exhaust out of here. Now I think it might hit the driver's side drive shaft, but I think if I drop this down enough and then push it over to the driver's side, I can get it to clear that drive shaft. But that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to finish seeing if I can pull the rest of the exhaust out of here and get that bolt back. But, you know, learn from my mistakes. If you're test fitting that bolt for that EGR tube like I was, and you don't have that collector bolted into that exhaust, put a cover over it, put your hand over it, but just be darn certain you don't drop that bolt into that crossover piece. But I'm going to finish fishing the rest of this exhaust out of here, and then I'll bring it back and let you know if it was successful or not. Talk to you in a bit. Okay, an update for you on dropping an exhaust bolt down the driver's side exhaust pipe. Well, as you can see, inside of our 3-claw grabber, we were able to retrieve it. So we have our prize, thankfully. So I guess let this be a lesson to you that there we go. So we were able to get it out in conjunction with this, which thankfully for Amazon same day delivery, I want to say this was about $16 and change, and I think this is about a 5.5 foot long 3-jaw grabber. And that in conjunction with the scope, we were able to feed the scope down, locate the bolt, and then use the scope as a guide to get the claw into position, extended the claw, got it close to the nut, and retracted it. And thankfully, once it retracted it, you saw it grabbed a hold of it and pulled this out. So, you know, let my mistakes be a lesson to you. You know, one little bolt like this added about 6 hours worth of work to get that exhaust drop far enough, and fiddling with the scope and this 3-jaw grabber to finally get this bolt back out. Well, with that being said, just a little bit of a small update for you to let you know that, you know, mistakes happen. Just be prepared for them. Chat you later. Bye.